Hello. Today we will be looking at differences in pricing at American and Belgian grocery stores located on military bases in Belgium. So, to put it simply, there are two military facilities here in Belgium. One is an international base, while the other is a purely American base. Thus, there are different grocery stores on each base. On the international base, there is a Belgian-run store called the Carrefour. On the other, the American base, there is an American-run store called the Commissary. However, this means that the two differing stores running on two differing economies carry similar items at differing prices. Goods sold at the Carrefour are sold in euros, while goods sold at the Commissary are sold in American dollars. In fact, as a byproduct of this exclusivity, many Americans in the community believe they have an advantage in terms of prices. We are here to test this theory. The design of this experiment was quite simple. I requested lists of all goods sold in the two stores and found similar items sold in both, while accounting for differences in measurement systems, as in kilos and pounds, in order to find like products. Then, from this list of like products, randomly selected 20 using a random number generator. Each of the prices for these like products were then recorded painstakingly as per their listing on the shelf. After collecting the initial data, a lot of conversion was necessary in order to bring the prices into a comparable space. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Time to dive into some specifics. To be clear, our population was that of all comparable products sold at the Carrefour and Commissary. Our sample was the simple random sample of 20 products generated via a random number generator found on any typical TI-84 calculator, while being sure to throw out repeats. Because we were working from the American side of the argument, the hypotheses reflected this. Our null hypothesis was that the prices of the Carrefour and Commissary are the same. Our alternative hypothesis was that the prices of the Carrefour and Commissary are not the same. We will be performing a matched pairs t-test, meaning we will be finding the differences between the individual pairs of products and averaging out those differences to see if they support the hypothesis. Unfortunately, there are many concerns with the results of this experiment. Namely, these data cannot be applied anywhere outside this small military community. Any attempt to extrapolate some conclusion about the greater Belgian economy would be entirely useless. The confounding variables are innumerable. In addition, because it was difficult to find directly comparable items, there is a chance this random sample cannot be considered a truly representative sample of what these stores actually sell. It is what they have in common, but one can't be sure these products would stand as representatives of the stores otherwise. We will, however, continue with caution. As stated, we are performing a matched pairs t-test, meaning there are some assumptions we must address before continuing. Firstly, the paired data assumption. These data are in pairs, because they are the same fundamental products, just sold differently. Then the independence assumption. These products come from various different companies who handle their packaging and sales differently, so we can assume that each individual product is, for the most part, independent of all other products. Then the randomization condition. The products we have here were, in fact, randomly selected with a random number generator. And finally, the nearly normal condition. The histogram of these Carrefour Commissary differences is unimodal and roughly symmetric, as can be seen here. The conditions are met, meaning we can use a student's T model with 19 degrees of freedom and perform a paired t-test. The first step being, as previously mentioned, to find the individual differences in prices. Each product was calculated in the format of Carrefour minus commissary, resulting in the difference of the two. If we take stock in the Americans' belief that they have the better prices, the difference should look positive for each product, because the Carrefour price should be higher. Surprisingly, one might suppose, this was not entirely the case, and if you, dear viewer, take a particular interest in the specifics of this section, now is your best opportunity to pause and take a look. Who would have guessed Rice Krispies would be that much more expensive at the commissary? And don't get me started on Louisiana hot sauce, oh my god. Anyway, the real importance of this graph is not any one difference, but the average difference. This, in conjunction with the standard deviation from that mean, are what will allow us to complete our hypothesis test. Essentially here, we find the standard error and t-score of this observed mean difference. Then, using these, we find the p-value, the critical piece. Similarly, we can use these statistics to reach a 95% confidence interval, which, while not our main focus, can aid in understanding. And so, we come to our conclusion. This p-value is rather large. In fact, at an alpha level of 0.05, we fail to reject the null hypothesis, which, as one will recall, stated that the prices were the same. We fail to reject that. We cannot conclude otherwise. So, even though there is an observed difference between the stores, we cannot conclude that this isn't due simply to random chance. It's possible Americans have been detecting a random fluctuation in the data as a price advantage. There's insufficient evidence to conclude that the advantage exists. Of course, with more tests and research, this could be examined further. Our conclusion is far from conclusive. But at the very least, we are 95% confident that prices in the commissary are, on average, between $4.09 cheaper than those of the Carrefour and 60 cents more expensive. Simple enough. These data are in pairs because they are the same fundamental products, just sold differently. Jesus Christ, Sarah, please be quiet!